Are you ready?
Starting now?
Oh, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And no Jeopardy tonight, huh? I didn't get the wave off from any Jeopardy, so I'm guessing.
No, you texted me right when Final Jeopardy was happening, so it was perfect.
So you saw again was it some dude again that won, or?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, you know what? I really didn't pay attention. I was setting this thing up, but
Nice.
It was on in the background.
So are you in your living room again?
I am in my bedroom.
Oh, okay.
My little office space.
Nice. Well, because again, once again for everyone there, Mike obviously got his Chromebook last week, so this is his first time doing it in his own setting, like you said,
right.
New technology, new setting. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you know what? I know it's still you, but you sound good. You know,
right? Yeah. The content, as I said last week, the content's still going to be shit, but at least it'll sound better.
Right. But yeah. So I mean, I have like a whole sheet full of stuff. I added some more things this week, plus a couple of things that I had just kind of backup stuff, but not backup stuff, but stuff from, again, shit. God, some of this stuff's probably been on here from, because like one on here, and I know we already talked about it. We already talked about pick your favorite step, didn't we?
No, we did not.
Oh, well, forget I said that. We'll talk about it later. But no, just
stay tuned.
That was the teaser. Coming up later on Sober Not Mature, we're going to pick our favorite step.
We're going to pick it until it bleeds.
So, did you see any of the posts on Facebook about that podcast that I posted about the Sober Girl?
You know
podcast?
What? Just recent. Yeah, I mean, I saw it like literally 20 minutes ago.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't get a chance to look at it or anything. I just saw you posted something.
No, that's cool. I mean, I'll tell you about it because I actually told her, I'm like, Mike and I are recording tonight. I'm just going to talk about it there. I said, that's what we talk about all this shit anyhow. So,
right.
So the short story was, it was yesterday. She had reacted to something. She's a follower of ours, which I don't know if I remembered it. I certainly didn't remember that she had a podcast. But she had reacted to something that I posted, and I looked and I popped into it. I'm like, oh, she's got a podcast.
Yeah,
and,
who doesn't?
You know, like, right. But I mean, you know, I pop in and listen to, you know, different podcasts, especially recovery ones. And there's plenty of them that I listen to that I've never mentioned because they're shit. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. I don't need to talk about it because I'm trying to be responsible. I'm not trying to jack these people up that give us bad ratings, you know, because it still pisses me off. Yeah. So we get that wrap up from Spotify, and you know, it's like, ooh, you're a hit. You're rated at 4.7, and I'm like, fuck you and your 4.7. Because some fucking maggot didn't like what we did and went on there and like, I'm gonna give you a bad rating. Well, fuck you. I hope the person listens just long enough to hear me say fuck you to them a couple more times.
Yeah, right. You know, and if you are listening, I appreciate the bad reviews.
Well, the only reason that you know what? Honestly, getting a bad review or a bad comment or something like that is cool. But what I look at is if with how it's rated affects how our podcast shows up in the search, which could affect, and seriously, on the whole series side of things, is that there could be somebody out there that does want to hear what we have to say, and it puts us lower on the list. So that's the irritating part. But anyhow,
but they cared enough to say that they didn't like us.
Right. Well, so do we have to applaud them for the effort?
I mean, here's the sound of one hand clapping.
Right. Okay. Cool. Then I can live with that. Thank you. So, on the other side of things, though, this chick that does this one, her name is Ashley. Very cool. And I had started listening to it, and she's just has, I don't know, she talks in a more kind of like us, not necessarily as mouthy as us, but
the bar's pretty high.
Right, I know, but more into general conversations. She's had a couple of guests on that I've listened to, a couple that she's just doing on her own. But the conversations she's having with people and stuff like that, she's asking questions. Don't get me wrong, kind of like we do, but it was just kind of like real talk and stuff like that. So. Again, I'm like, that's why I posted it up. It's cool. Another podcast people listen to, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So she had commented and, thanked us and all this different stuff. She's like, I can't believe it. Blah. And then, she had messaged me and she said, we should try to link up and maybe you come on my podcast. I'll come on yours if you'd be interested. She goes, but you guys, it looks like you guys have a pretty professional setup. And she's like, I'm an amateur. I'm like, you know what? We may look like it's professional. We're not. No. She uses Anchor. The only reason I know she's doing the same lead-in ad that we're doing. Plus, she's got the on her picture. There's the Anchor logo, which I should tell her that could be taken off of there. But yeah, so and I told her this and that, the Riverside, blah blah blah. But I'm like, either way, cool. So one of her episodes, she was talking about. This might have been from a year ago. Her dad passed away, so I was listening to that, and I had messaged her. I'm like, I'm listening to your one about your dad. I'm like, our mom just passed away. And she's like, I didn't know you guys were brothers. I'm like, well, biologically, no, but so explain that whole thing. And I told her one episode, and I think she listened to that. So one way or the other, I told her I'd talk to you about it. But so yeah, take a look at that link. And then look it up and listen to a couple of her episodes.
Yeah, and when I get back to work this week, I definitely will.
Yeah, and I said worst case scenario, it wouldn't be until after the first of the year. Things are too nuts anyhow. But yeah, so maybe we can go on her podcast, vice versa on ours, and so
swap some things.
Right, swap spots and voices and all that. Oh, here's the other thing. She's a young person. She's like in her mid-30s. She's married. Lives in, God, she said it a couple of times, somewhere on the East Coast or something like that. But then I'm thinking, maybe we can throw some of our old audience her way, and she can throw some young audience our way.
Right.
Again, helping out everyone.
Things.
Right, exactly. Swapping audiences and stuff. So cool. So that was number 1 on my list. Awesome. Before I kind of go into some of the things that I had on here, anything that, remember, this is not the end of the episode. Don't say not a goddamn thing. Anything like that came up this week? Anything on your mind? Anything popped up you want to talk about before we hop into stuff? Or
not really. Nah. Okay. I'm sure I had a couple things, but I'm sure we'll get to them or we won't.
Right. So you're the one that I had made a note of that you and I texted about the other day. You said the friend of yours did listen to the podcast, and I had
there we go.
So,
I just stay the hell out of the way, and shit happens.
Well, that was one I had on my list because I know you had that story. I've got another one too that kind of ties in with that. So yeah, go ahead, talk about that.
Yeah, well, my friend Albert. Hi, Albert. How you doing, man?
What's up, Albert?
Yeah. He goes by Bert too. Old friend of mine, old roommate in California. It's really good dude. We were really good friends. We reconnected on Facebook after I moved back to Ohio and stuff. I definitely was not sober when we lived together and we worked together, but yeah, didn't matter. He's been listening. And he sent me a message the other day saying, he was having a bit of a day and, a little anxious and stuff and put on our podcast and it chilled him out a little bit. So I'm sure his California medicine helped him a little bit with that too. But so that was cool. Again, apparently what we do here is helping people, all kinds of people.
Right.
I told Bill in the message, yeah, he's a normie. He likes to smoke and he has an occasional beer, but you know what? He gets up every day and takes care and does what he needs to do. So he gets to do that. I don't.
Right. Well,
Right.
I don't either. So you and I are in
Right.
the same boat, but I think we've established that part. So
yeah, but the cool part was, he reached out to me and just said, this little thing that we're doing here, our little enterprise, helped him, which made me feel good, and I had to share that with Bill.
Yeah, and it's cool because it was funny. I don't remember when it was now. I think earlier this week, and there was the short. I'll try to give the short story on this. I met this. I know, and I'm going to try the bits and pieces. Some of it you might want more information, but you ask if you want more information.
All right.
So she lives in Milwaukee. I met her on a dating app. We're friends and we've remained friends. And just every once in a while, texting back and forth, this and that. Never met her in person. We never actually went out or anything like that. But we just became friends after meeting on a dating app, which that in and of itself to me is kind of cool. But so I had texted her about something, and then she asked how things were going. I told her about mom, and obviously apologies on that side of things. But we started talking about some other things, and she had sent me like this voice text message. It was telling me, just kind of update me on a couple of things that we had talked about in the past. And one of the things she said was, and she's a normie, so, but I had mentioned the podcast to her, God, probably 6 months ago. Just, I'm like, hey, if you're on Instagram, whatever. So she's one of our connections on there now. I honestly didn't know that she would ever listen, but she has. And you know what? She said the same thing. She said that she goes that lately some of the stuff that's been going on in her life, again, anxious, maybe feeling a little bit down or whatever the case is. She's like, your podcast, she goes, I listened to it. And she said it calms me down. But she said on top of that, she's like, I really need to start doing that, being more mindful. What can I maybe should I do some readings in the morning? Should I do a recap at the end of the day? And I'm like, really? But Kathy said the same thing, like the daily inventory, which is a step 10 and all those different things.
Right.
But I told her, I'm like, because I said, oh, even being a normie, whatever. She's like, no, this has helped me.
Right.
And I was like, God damn, again, like you just said, this little thing that we do. And, especially it blows my mind. Number one, women that listen to us and actually kind of enjoy what we do. That still blows my mind.
Yeah, no, it is a bit strange, isn't it?
I know. But you know what? You ladies are fucking nuts a little bit, and I appreciate you for it. We both do. But cool. Stay crazy. Yeah. Stay crazy and keep listening.
We love it.
Yeah, tell your crazy friends too. Let them listen. But no, I mean exactly what you said, that this little thing that we do, I enjoy the shit out of this. I really do.
Right.
But then on top of that, just that, I don't know, it's cool. It's really cool. So, but yeah, and I know that's certainly not the first time we've heard about it, but I mean, literally within like a couple of, a couple of days or in the same week to have two people saying that, I thought that was kind of fun. So
it is. Yes. It makes us feel good to touch you.
I was going to say it warms our cockles, but
right. My cockles is fairly warm right now.
I know, right? As I was about to say, it warms our cockles. You said you're happy we're touching people, or however you said that. I'm like, God, again, why do women listen to this? I
don't know.
So, anything more about? And I got kind of I don't know, maybe a back topic again on like the holidays and stuff like that. But because I know we kind of covered everything with the holidays, with the exception of, like our favorite word. Which is triggers, And what made me think about this was, when's the last time that you watched, because I know you have, when's the last time you watched Pulp Fiction?
No, probably about 6 months ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was on my TV, like basically I bought a Chromecast that sets up like a smart TV, and it's one of those suggestions. So I'm like, I don't know, one night I'm like, I just wanted to kill a little bit of time. So I popped it on. And the one thing, I mean, first of all, the movie's fun. I mean, Tarantino did a great job on it, but I mean, it's obviously fucking weird and it's violent and all those sort of things. But there's like when Travolta first scores from Eric Stoltz when he's in his house. And, he says, hey, you mind if I shoot up there? And they do this whole close-up thing with that, which, again, you've said that before, that you've seen that. And it doesn't, and we'll explain how we feel about the word, but, I mean, it doesn't necessarily make you want to use, but you would probably explained it more when you see a scene like that. How does that, I don't even want to say affect you, how does that make you feel at that time?
Right. Again, it depends on my mood. It depends on a lot of things. Generally, honestly, generally I go, oh yeah, I remember that, and of course, anyone who's ever used intravenously, there's it's that moment, man, that rush is coming, and it's a pretty goddamn good thing. And it is. And I remember that, and I go, that looks pretty damn good, and then again, I have this wonderful tool that I have that I play that tape through. Yes, that moment is wonderful. Then what?
Right.
So, yeah, I look at it and it's, there's a bit of uncomfortableness to it. There's a bit of nostalgia. There's it all plays out, but generally, I don't romanticize it,
right?
Not to, that's there too. It's all there. But thankfully, it doesn't really affect me all that much. It's a brief moment, and guess what? That moment passes.
Right. But I mean, this was in hang on one second. I'm going to pull up the 24-hour book. I think that was in.
All right.
I think that was
the 24-hour book. We're right in the middle of slip season, my favorite time of year.
Right. Well, that's the other. I'm going to kind of jump topics a little bit here because that's the other thing I wrote down. But so in the 24-hour book today, it said in idle. Well, first of all, let me step back. So for anyone who doesn't know, Hazelden does a ton of recovery books, and 24 hours a day is just one of them. I've got it on my phone. Mike still has you still have the hard copy, of course, on that.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones we read, like God Grant Me. I read Keep It Simple or something else like that. There's like two other ones I read. But anyhow,
right.
The 24-hour book is one that we started reading in the Keating Center. That was part of meditation every morning.
Yeah.
And
that was the meditation book at the Keating Center. That was the one we did. Right.
So and I know you're the same way, but from the day that I got in there, which I think was day 7 of my sobriety, I've read this every single day and never missed a day. And I think you're the same, right?
Yep.
Right. And that's, just something we were taught. But in this morning's reading, and speaking of these thoughts, it says an idle thought connected with drinking casually pops into our mind, or using. It could be drinking or using. That is the crucial moment. And we've talked about this before. Will I harbor that thought even for 1 minute, or will I banish it from my mind at once? If I let it stay, it may develop into a daydream. And you talked all about that, the romanticizing and things like that. And I thought about that, and I actually made a note of it because, again, they're talking about slips and blah, 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 which we can touch on that too. But the whole point, and it's funny because first of all these things that I think we've been pretty clear that everything that comes out of our mouths is, inadvertently stolen from somebody else or purposely.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Intentionally stolen. Yep.
Right. But sometimes inadvertently, like this whole thing, I knew we had heard or read or whatever. And now this would be probably the 13th time that we've read that 24-hour book.
And there are sections of it that I've read more than that because, as you know, this is not my first rodeo.
Right. But, sometimes these thoughts stick in, and then I read it in the book again. I'm like, that's where that thing came from. So that was what I thought this morning. I'm like, well, that's perfect because, I knew I had it written down about, a couple other things. But the funny part is that, and maybe that's the point, is all this repetition. We hear, we listen, we read, and all these people, bestow all this knowledge on us. And somewhere it sticks in the back of our head, and that's the point. Like it said in there, is as long as we don't let that thought sit idle, it's one thing. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, I think you too, nothing wrong with thinking about it. And I thought that Pulp Fiction scene was about that's about as upfront and in your face as drug use can get in a movie, without showing it going into somebody's arm. But I mean, it's this big fucking needle on the screen. And it's just the plunger going back and the blood going in, and I'm just like, God damn. So
we call that registering.
Registering? Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when the blood pops into it, yeah.
Okay,
that's you register. You got the vein, you're in there, then you can push that plunger down, and away you go.
Okay, hang on. In case I ever, what's it called? Registering? Okay,
registering.
Okay, I'm just writing this down
when you register
for my yet. If this is part of my yet moments, I have yet to register.
Right, it hasn't registered yet.
Right, the registering has not registered. So. And it's the same thing too. Sometimes, and it's weird. It depends on the day, but I'll see somebody and usually it's not. I can't even say that. I was going to say usually it's not a beer; it's a mixed drink, but more so with mixed drinks than it is, like somebody drinking a beer on a TV show or a movie. But it's like that, dropping a couple of ice cubes in there, doing that, and it's usually when how people do that. They just shake the glass a little bit, kind of make it a dance.
Yeah.
Make it a whiskey and the ice cubes dance, and then I don't care what it is in my head, it's whiskey, so and then but it's the same thing. It's like, fuck, man, because I remember at that moment I can remember the smell, the warmth, the burn, in your mouth as you take it all in, which but the thing of it is but the point is, it's just like you said, ooh, great, this, that, but then it's gone, so but I think that's the important part. So, and you brought up the whole, obviously mentioned the word slip, and I was gonna bring that up too. So did we talk about like slip versus relapse? I mean, I don't know. I understand what they mean behind it, but did we talk about the two of those or no?
We may have a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, and yeah, a slip, is I equate that to a car accident. There are no car accidents. There's no such thing. You didn't do something, you were negligent, it wasn't my fault, this guy ran into me. No, you allowed the guy to run into you. You put yourself in a situation where you were hit by someone else. Same thing, man. There's no slip, there's no accident. You relapse. You for whatever reason decide to pick up again, and it's generally because you stop doing what you're doing, what you need to do, and you don't have any way to not pick up, so yeah, you pick up because you don't have a choice. I don't have a choice,
right?
It's a relapse. There is no slip. There was no banana peel there.
Just the funny part, and I know Mike pretty well, I think. And just when he starts off, I can hear, even though maybe the rest of y'all can't hear the little thing in his voice, but when he's like, slip, there is no, just you. Now, at the end, you made it pretty clear that you're, kind of disgusted by the word, but when you first, not even disgusted, just the way you said it, but to begin with, as soon as you said slip, that's why I started laughing to begin with, because I can always hear where the conversation's going to go just by the tone of how you say the word.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've always felt the same way, and I'm sure that you and I have talked about it. Definitely outside of this, but yeah, and but I was thinking about it today because I wrote that down clearly because it was in the 24-hour book, today about that little thought thing. But then my first thought was, I'm like, this new age idea, and I'm like, no, this fucking book was written.
Yeah,
I mean
the 50s, mid 50s, yeah.
So, I mean, that word slip has been around for, it's not some new age term. I mean, it's been around for a while, which kind of baffles me because so much of the recovery community, and it's nothing wrong with it. If that works for people, it's cool. But so much of it's been softened, and people have tried to soften AA and, there's other recovery groups. And again, that's fine. That's awesome. Perfect.
Well, I mean, yeah,
do what you got to do.
They were softening it from the beginning, I mean, the original thing was never have we seen a person fail who's thoroughly followed our path, and they changed it to rarely. No, it's never, man. You follow this path, you don't fucking pick up.
Right. Well, and that's always been my example is, I mean, literally it's the equivalent of if somebody gave you the answers to a test and you still failed and you couldn't just fill in the blank, because that's what this is. There's no, if anyone is new to recovery, I don't care if you're in a 12-step program or anything like that. There's no secrets here, and there's nobody that's going to hold back from you if you want to get sober. People are going to tell you everything. They're going to give you the keys to the castle, and they're going to give you the playbook, the answers to the test. They're going to tell you, this is what I did, this is what you could do, this is what you should do. And if you follow that, and I guess even like GPS, 15 years ago, GPS was kind of fucked up. But these days, if you put the address incorrect, it's going to take you to the front fucking door, and you're following a map the same way this is. This is a map, but it's in a couple of steps. 12 of them to be exact.
I believe so.
But okay, so we both feel the same way. If somebody drinks, it's a relapse. It is what it is. Somebody's not like sort of pregnant. They are pregnant. Same concept.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I was just thinking about this, right? We talked about this before. I'm going to Mexico in about a week and a half. And last year or the year before, we were down there and we order pina coladas, right? But we get them virgin, of course. And we were at dinner one night and my girlfriend, Chris, got a loaded one. And, so if that happened to me, right, and I took a drink of it and I tasted it, I might swallow it, because I'm taking a drink and expecting it to be a virgin and not have any alcohol in it. I might swallow that sip. That would be a slip. That would be, I wasn't expecting this. This was given to me. I took a drink and I went, oh shit. Hopefully I would hope I would taste it before I got it down my throat and spit it out, but I might not. I might take that one drink, literally a drink of a drink. And, that would be a slip. I would not change my sobriety date. Now, if I finish that fucker, yes, I would. But you know what? Today I don't think I'm going to finish it.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be a slip. I accidentally, but that would be the only way that it would be a slip. Otherwise, it's a relapse.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and even that though, I mean, I think you might even be going too hard on yourself to call that a slip because if you think about, or if we've talked about this before, when's the last time that we consciously put something in our bodies to fuck ourselves up? That's why detox doesn't count. That's why if you go to have surgery and they pump you up with some shit, that's why those things don't count. What did Baron call it? A freebie?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So surgery, I'll never forget that. Surgery is a freebie. Yeah, right. But with that stuff, and if you accidentally, took a drink, somebody gave you something, and I've taken drinks of something before, and then you taste it and you're like, and you smell it and you're like, it's a weird tasting whatever. It's not been alcohol in it. Right. But I've been in a public event, and Jody and James's wedding was a perfect example. I mean, an Irish wedding, fucking whiskey and shit all over the goddamn place.
Right.
I accidentally set my drink down the one time with soda, and I walked back up to the table and I went to grab it. I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to get another one. I didn't even touch it because I'm like, I don't know,
Right.
But the same deal. And I know we talked about that because we were talking about Bob that we lived in the 3-quarter house. He said if you ate rotten fruit, that you'd have to change your sobriety date. I'm like, you fucking moron.
Yeah. Well,
well, exactly. But okay, so we're on the same page. The word slip doesn't apply. If you consciously take a drink again, it is what it is. It's a duck. It walks and quacks like one. It's a fucking relapse.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So I read that was just reminded me when I said the whole pregnant, you're not a little pregnant, you're either pregnant or not. There was a meme that I just saw and I'm like, I can't post this on Instagram, but I can talk about it. It said, it said, I don't want to have sex. I just want to see if it fits. And I saw that and I'm like, who can I send this to? And I found somebody to send it to, but I wasn't gonna post it on Instagram.
That's nice.
I know it was one of the funniest things that I ever. But it just made me think about it when I said either you're pregnant or you're not. It's not sex. I'm just checking to see if it fits.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a scientific experiment.
Right. All right, so slip, relax, or not relax. I can't even think now.
Well, you relapse, you probably will relax for a minute or two.
Absolutely, probably will. Oh, so with the one of the traditions about talking about AA openly, and I don't think we touched on this yet, but it was something that I can tell you the brief story about. Christine got hit with this, and I'll tell you the story
Okay.
about that. But
Yeah.
AA, using the AA name at the level of radio, press, and film. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole obviously anonymity thing. I don't remember what tradition it is, but that
Right.
we're supposed to be anonymous at the level of
Mm-hmm.
press, radio, and film. But you and I talked about anonymity and what it means to us. So
Mm-hmm.
your opinion again on anonymity and also talking about it openly like that.
Well, yeah, it's a personal choice, you know. Again, we've said it plenty of times, we do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous. We are just members. We use Alcoholics Anonymous to help us stay sober and be better people. But yeah, you know, we don't represent it. We're just drunks, man, of the garden variety.
Right.
Yeah, you know, that was set up because, again, you know, you can't go on TV or radio or podcasts or the internet or whatever and say, "Hi, I'm Mr. Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is the way it works."
Right.
Can't do that, you know, and we don't. And it's also, it's to protect the people in the program. You know,
right.
Not everybody wants to be out there. Not everybody, you know, and there's a couple of aspects of my life where I'm not, you know, work. My job does not know that I'm in recovery. That being said, I do have an AA circled triangle sticker on my truck. You know, I do. It's one of the clear ones. It's very, very subtle, but it's there. Because it's important to me, you know. And I've actually had a couple of people talk to me about it. I want that out there. I want people to know that's what I am, and I do that so if somebody's got a question, hopefully I can answer them or point them in the right direction. That's the only reason that's there. You know, I'm a member, and I do want people to know. But yes, you know, my bosses and stuff don't know. If they directly asked me, I would be honest with them, but they haven't. So I don't. I'm not going to volunteer that. That being said, pretty much any other aspect of my life, everybody knows. You know, and certainly people that knew me before are grateful for that.
And not surprised.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. You know.
So have you had anyone yet that's walked up to you when you said, or when you've walked up and you've seen somebody and it's like, "Hey, by the way, I'm sober," and they're like, "Oh my God, really? Why did you get sober?" Did you have
No.
I've never
said
had that. I've never had. Well, I can't say that. I had one person that said that to me, and they're like, "Oh, you weren't that bad," but that's my bipolar friend. And then one other person that, God, I can't remember who it was, had kind of a, like, really? I never know. But I wasn't around the person enough. And it was one of those things where, of course, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know because you didn't hang with me that way. So, you know, how would you have known? But, and I want to tell you about the whole thing with the Christine part of things. But we're like we're at a good point right now where we could take that little break. So if you're good to go, then you could lead us in.
All right. Well, be sure to stay tuned for more of Sober Not Mature right after this brief message from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature. Have you visited our website lately? If not, it's www.SoberNotMature.com. While you're there, you can listen to all of our episodes or find links to where our episodes can be played, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and others. We do have a blog page for some of the writings that we've done. We've got a web store where you can take a look at all of our merchandise, buy yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie, maybe even a mug. You can see our review section where you can actually leave a review or see what people have been saying about us. You can check out our sponsor page. We've got a contact page. Basically, any opportunities that we have to contact or interact with us are on our website. Also, you can buy us a coffee, or you can just find other ways to support the podcast. Visit us today at www.SoberNotMature.com. All right, welcome back. And by the way, that was a hell of a professional out you did there. That little lead in, I like that, man. For a second there, I'm like, who the fuck is this dude, man?
Who the hell is in your house?
I'm looking around. I'm like, is there somebody else? Okay, all right. No, very
just
nice.
Me.
No, I like that. I like that.
I can pull it together occasionally.
Every once in a while, you slip on a coat and tie and shock me for a minute, and then you have a plant in your hand. So, and this was probably about a month ago, and again, the whole thing of radio, press, film, the AA name, anonymity. Right. So, obviously, we had Christine on. For anyone who didn't listen to her episode, it's 35, I think. Yeah, I think episode 35, but it's she's sober, not mature, or I'm sorry, sober as a mother. We're sober, not mature.
Right.
She's sober as a mother on Instagram, but cool story, blah, blah, blah. But the short story there is that she talked to us about it. She was featured in an article about this, basically telling the same story. She spent a very short amount of time in AA, kind of wasn't her deal. She explained it, still took a lot from it, took a lot of the basics from it, but then has been doing stuff on her own. So not even an active member, but has been vocal about the fact that she was. And quite honestly, she doesn't really talk bad about it. She's just like, I used it for what it was, and it wasn't completely my deal, so I did this instead.
Right.
So
took what you needed and left the rest.
Right.
I've heard that somewhere before. Once
or twice, right? So she's in California. So she gets this email. I think it was, I'm sure it was an email from some lady from one of the local districts.
Was her name Karen?
She referred to her as a Karen. She did, because that's when you kind of hear this, and I'm going to give the very short version, but basically just said that, hey, read the article, in the future, this is our tradition, you shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. But here's the funny thing, because she messaged me and she was fucking lit. She's just like, I don't understand this, and this is why, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, hang on. I'm like, she sent me a copy of the letter. I looked at it. I'm like, I said, read the last paragraph on the first page. It says that basically, and the lady put this in this email, saying that, okay, so how would a person feel if they were getting outed by another member of Alcoholics Anonymous? But if and she put, even the sentence was in there, if the member chooses to say that they're involved on their own, it's fine. And I'm like, she just contradicted herself.
Well, yeah.
She's saying, don't talk about this, but it's okay if you talk about this.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know, that Christine emailed her back and just basically said, thanks, bye, whatever.
Right.
But she posted it on Instagram too. She had fucking people all up in arms. She had blocked out her name, I think, or whatever, but had all people up in arms about this. And but the whole point is that Christine didn't do anything wrong. And I listened to, again, I've listened to a lot of podcasts. AA is mentioned a lot,
Sure.
And once again, it's the vehicle that brought you and I to this point. That's number one. But on top of that, we're not rattling out our friends. We're not rattling out newcomers. If anyone goes to an AA meeting, you don't have to worry about it. It's literally it's kind of like Vegas, man. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But
what
it's
happens in the room stays in the rooms. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not filthy like Vegas.
Right. Well, it's worse.
Yeah, it actually could be. It could be. Good point. But so just kind of blew my mind. I'm like, God, I hope that lady never gets wind of our podcast. Then I'm thinking about, no, let her send us a fucking email.
Yeah, please.
I'm like, yeah. So we're of the same opinion on that too. Anonymity is our choice. Call it or scream it from the rooftops if we want, but obviously we're not representing AA. And I do understand the point to a certain extent when, like, celebrities and things like that. Do you know who Dax Shepard is?
I've heard the name. He's an actor, right?
Yeah, actor. And
you mentioned him a couple episodes ago.
I couldn't remember if I did, but yeah. So I've been listening to his podcast, and he was sober, but then apparently relapsed within the last couple of years. He had a hell of a lot of time, 13, 14, 15 years. Yep, now the dogs are barking.
And now the dogs are barking.
Look, I think Kathy went to get some food, and then as the garage door opens, then they start going crazy. But anyhow, it wouldn't be a Friday night podcast without the dogs in the background.
That's right.
Got anyone playing music or ripping in the front of your house? That's our next thing.
Well, I'm upstairs now, so it's a little bit better.
Okay.
Right.
But he brought that up a couple of times and he said that people had brought it up to him. So, and I think the mindset is that, that people, but he even said it, he's like, people cannot and should not put me or anyone else up on this pedestal. Because
absolutely.
If I fail or you fail, meaning Bill and Mike or Dax Shepard or Russell Brandt or whoever, these other people are out there.
Yeah, right. And Marin and Craig Ferguson's pretty famous.
There you go. That's what I was thinking of.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not, again, we've made it very clear, at least in our opinion, and I think they would say the same thing. They fail AA doesn't fail them. Right. I mean, that's kind of what it is. So,
yeah, individuals. Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Individuals fail. The program is still the program.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, we're rolling along here. So anything else is popping into your head while I'm doing? I got a bunch of other shit. We got plenty of things to talk about. Man.
And I got nothing.
and here's the funny part. I swear to God, after we got done recording last week, because you figure that 3 episodes was the one about Mom.
Right.
The episode before that was still. I mean, for how many weeks? I mean, I didn't have to do shit. I'm like, we're gonna have a guest. We'll just start a conversation, man. All we need to do is sit back and chit chat, shoot the shit, and have fun with our newfound friends.
Exactly.
But after last week's episode, I started looking at my list and I'm crossing shit off. I'm like, fuck, man, I haven't been paying attention to anything during the week. I just read shit and I ingest it and I do my thing. So I started making notes on all this stuff. So majority of this is from, not all of it, but a lot of it's from the last week because I started paying attention again.
Right.
But so the one, and I couldn't remember if we had talked about it, but since I mentioned it already, so out of all of for us, once again, we're made it clear that we're 12-step guys and all that stuff. So what is your, out of all 12, and granted the first step is the one that we know we have to do perfectly. So I think that's a given favorite for us. But what about anything else? One that you look at and you're like, this is the one that really makes a difference in my life every single day. I just love that sometimes. But so you know how to walk people through the silence. That's what's the great part about it. So
right, yeah. Well, I listen to enough radio. I know dead air is not a good thing.
Right.
Let's see. The easy one is to go to the maintenance steps 10, 11, and 12. And then there's those pesky 6 and 7 where we have to be better people.
Right.
Jesus, man. So, you cut out the first one, which is really, well,
because that one we have to do, and that's why I cut that out because it's we don't have a choice. I mean, it's whether it's a favorite or not, it's got to be done.
And we leave out 4, 5, and 8 because I did those. Those are the ones I did that I don't have to do anymore. On a daily thing, you know what? Probably 12 if I had to pick one. But I you know what? I can't because I need to work all of the steps every day.
Right.
They're all important. You can't separate one out and say, this is the one that I work. No. I've got to work 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12 every fucking day to one extent or another. I fall short, except for the first one. I don't do them perfectly. I don't do them completely. But to some degree, I have to do a part of every one of those steps every day. So all of them.
Well, and you know what? I kind of asked that, and that one I wrote down probably at least 2 months ago. That's why I thought we might have talked about it, maybe even longer than that. But the reason that I thought about that is I was thinking the same thing. I thought it would be fun to have you try to choose something, because again, when I come up with these things, I always throw it out to you first, which is sometimes fun, but sometimes you're like, and I listening back to earlier episodes, months and months ago. Sometimes you're like, I got nothing. I'm barely taking a drink of coffee, and you're like, I got nothing. I'm like, fuck. But the one that, and I agree with you, and that's kind of the, hopefully kind of the point. Like you said, you got to do all of them. The one that maybe I'll just say not my favorite one, but the one I appreciate most that helps me probably it's more openly helps me is the 10-step, because it's a conscious thing for me to do it every night. That's the first thing, but it's also either gotten me out of trouble, or prevented trouble from happening, so it's, I think it's one sometimes that is just more, it's more in front of my face, because I catch myself catching myself so I don't say stupid shit. Right. Or when I say stupid shit, I go back and apologize. And the worst is when somebody's like, oh, you didn't do anything wrong. And in my head, I'm like, fuck it, I didn't have to say anything. but I do. But that's the point, because I did have to say something, because in my head, I've wronged somebody, and I've got to make it right. So, but yeah, you're right. In the whole
I was going to say, you made a mess, and so you have to clean it up, whether somebody stepped in it or not.
Right. But the fun part is that like you said, you've got to do all of them, but so many of these things, like 1, 2, and 3, I know both of us basically handle those 3 steps like right away in the morning. Not that we're done with them, but I mean, we address those right away. And then, 6 and 7 are just all throughout the day, everything we do. And even 10, 11, and 12, those are just happening. It's all of these things have become, and it's really cool when you think about it, and I was thinking about it more when you were talking about it. It's just that the reason that question is so impossible is because it's like you're asking me not to breathe.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So which part of me, or how long do I not want to breathe, or what's my favorite part of breathing? It's I have to do it all the time, so yeah. But yeah, that was more kind of a fun one. But I think that was interesting, and I think you kind of put a little bit of a different light on that when you just said that. You need them all, and I guess I wasn't thinking about that they're just so ingrained, in everything, right? Which is cool.
Well, yeah, the last line of the last step is practice these principles in all our affairs, and there's no way to do that unless we're working all the rest of them. Everything leading up to those words,
right?
Yeah,
right. So next one, and I don't remember where I got this line, but it says it had been one of my readings. I don't know if it was a 24-hour book or not, but it says to truly do your higher power's will is where happiness lies. So I'll read that again. To truly do your higher power's will is where happiness lies.
Right.
What do you think about that, Mike?
Goddamn. I was about to be a dick.
Go ahead. I
stopped myself. See, no.
Really? Damn
it. Well, you know what? Yeah, doing the next right thing, being a good boy. I've said it before. I will say it again. Happiness is a byproduct. Happiness is not a destination. Happiness is not where we live. Happiness is a byproduct of doing the next right thing, of being a good boy, of doing your higher power's will. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But, yeah. And it was like when I read that, and once again, I have no idea where it came from or when I wrote it down, but even as I read that, I read it twice for you, but really I read it twice for myself. Because I'm like, wait a second, what is this fucking trying to say?
Wait a minute.
Hang on. So I got to figure this out real quick. But I mean, really, when I think when I first wrote this down was the mindset that, like you and I we talk about it, it's something, even maybe not somebody, some other will than our own, we got to leave it up to something else and not try to force things, because I mean, I know for a fact anytime, not even every time, anytime that I try to force something, it usually doesn't work out. If it does, it's not the way that it should have. Time takes time, all that blah, 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 blah. which I love, of course, patience and time. But I mean, I think that's probably the way that I looked at that, was just kind of reinforcing in my own head that, I just got to let shit be every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it was one from one of the readings. I read it too in the recent past. And again, and you know what? I get the happiness is a byproduct. There's a radio guy that I listen to occasionally, Dennis Prager, who is conservative, right wing, blah blah blah, Jew, real religious Jew, which is cool, whatever. I'm just saying that's what he is. And he does this thing on Fridays that I'll catch when I'm out running my errands. He calls it the happiness hour. And he talks, and they talk about, positive things and stuff. I try to catch it every week just for that hour. And and he talks about that a lot. I get a lot of the stuff he talks about is actually kind of program stuff that's not from the program, if you know what I mean.
Right.
It's and that's a big one. Happiness is a byproduct. Happiness is not a goal. Happiness is a byproduct of doing the next right thing. And that's absolutely true. If we're trying to be happy, if we're trying to get something, it's a selfish and self-centered thing. I want to be happy. This world needs to make me happy.
Right.
No. I need to do the right thing. And by doing the right thing, I am a happy person. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose that, people talk so much just in a general sense about, the youth, and whether it's millennials or Gen Z or whatever it is, which, I mean, that millennials, I believe millennials would be like Amber and Kimmy's age, right?
Kimmy.
30s. Yeah. So, I mean, they don't, and Brian, her husband, I mean, they, in my opinion, I mean, because millennials are supposed to be lazy and, not want to do certain, whatever it is, but they don't fit that. And I've trained a lot and, worked closely with people in that age group for years. And I never saw that, so I think it's a horrible stereotype. And then you take the whole Gen Z thing that, they're lazy and entitled and all that different shit, which again, I take a look at my son, I take a look at, Kylie, our niece, I take a look at my son's girlfriend, and the all of their friends. I mean, these are hardworking kids, man. I mean, they're hardworking and they have goals. Granted, my son still lives with my ex, but he's doing it for a purpose. Katie, his girlfriend, lives at home right now. She's going to school. She's doing it for a purpose. They have that ability to do that, but like one of my son's goals is to never live in an apartment. He doesn't want to. And right now he has the ability to live at home. He's got a cool setup. My ex and her husband are cool with it. And he wants to be able to, the next step, he wants to buy a house, even if he has to buy it with somebody or anything like that. But, and I'm like, don't lose that. I was just talking to him when I was it 2 weeks ago when I went up there and had lunch with him. It was just him and I, because Katie was working, and we got on to just talking about a lot of stuff. But that was one of those things. And I said, are you still looking at that? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I don't want to. And I said, well, here's the deal. I said, don't lose that. Don't let yourself lose that dream, or lose that goal. I think I said, not dream, because it doesn't have to be a dream, And I said, I'm like, mom's cool with it. Corey's cool with it. You're in a position right now. You're giving them some money. You're taking care of things, you're earning your keep to live there. They get it. So I said, don't lose that. But I also said, be careful, because I've always mentioned to him, he wants, at times he's looking like, I want to get a new truck and whatever. And I said, you can afford it right now, but whatever you build into your life right now, you're going to strap yourself. Don't strap yourself with a car. Don't strap yourself with things that you don't need, because if that is your goal,
definitely. But so basically don't succumb to short-term quick gratification. Is that what you're trying to say?
And I guess I didn't realize I was, but I was,
Yeah. Right.
And again, unconsciously.
Right. And certainly not the way that we lived our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
and here we are in our 50s, and I've owned a house for 3 years. I'm going to be 56 in a couple of months.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
a little late to the game. Wonder why.
Well, and I had when Dawn and I bought our house, I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
It was right when Derek was born, 31, 32 area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had my house thing. I'm kind of sometimes I feel like I've got the mindset of maybe a Gen Z or a fucking millennial or something like that. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to own a house anymore, but it's not number one on my list. Not saying I would never get married, but it's not number one on my list.
Right.
I'd rather be the position I'm in right now where, and granted, I've been open about it. I'm going to live with my sister, but for a purpose. I came down here for a purpose, and this is cool because all these things happen for a reason. And again, not really my will, not my choice, anything like that.
Right.
Part of it was, because I could have made the decision not to come down here.
Right.
But really what it comes down to is now, even though I'm in a, again, from a work standpoint, financially, got some shit to work out with whatever I want to do, but I'm almost in the perfect situation to do what I want to do, is just kind of kick around and, go different places and do that sort of thing, So again, all these different things that happened sort of with my help, I was able to, tag along and, say, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that.
Right.
But
yeah,
I couldn't have planned any of this shit,
No.
And then take a look at that. Like you even said before, you got a hell of a deal on that house, right? In a neighborhood that's growing, and all that sort of thing. So, if you would have tried, I know you were patient, obviously when you did it, but I think the same thing, that patience and just sitting back and doing all the right things, being a good boy,
being a good boy, right? Yeah. I lived in that little house down there by Gordon Square for 6 years. And I thought actually that I lived in that house longer than I lived anywhere in my entire life.
Right.
And again, bided my time. I rented. It was great. It was perfect for the time. And I thought about buying a house for a couple of years before I actually did it. Took my time, and then the time came and it was right, and somehow shit happened. God knows I really didn't do anything, just reached out to a friend and said, hey man, I think I'm ready to start looking. And shit, what, 4 months later, I was signing the papers, something like that. It was I still don't know how the hell it happened.
Well, that was Danny, right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. So yeah, Danny got you in there, Mara. He's helped out quite a few people. So did Tony and Angel too, or no?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. But he's a friend from the rooms, and doing the thing, man. He's doing his path and doing things that he never thought he would be doing.
Right.
We've had that conversation a couple of times. He's like, I don't know how the fuck I'm doing this. Right.
Well, on top of that, he's got to put up with Melissa. I hope she listens to this sometime. Yeah, woman, what time is it now, huh?
Right.
That's an inside joke. The last time we played poker, I don't even know why she started doing it. I have no idea why she started doing it. At the end of the table, everyone's talking loud, doing whatever, and she just started yelling, what time is it? For no fucking reason. It's just Melissa's a friend of ours. So yeah, it's just fucking funny. So then I started yelling, and I posted on Facebook. She posted something, and I just put it in all capital letters. I'm like, what time is it? It was like Michelle some years ago when she's like, Queens were hot. This was hot. Leah with, God, what were we saying with Leah? I forget those. Yeah, so many things that come out of those fucking poker games.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was just a trip.
Then there was the truffle butter.
Oh, yeah. Truffle butter.
Yeah.
That went in down a whole different path.
Yes, it did.
That was with Bo. Bo's the one that.
Yes, it was.
Yep. Yeah, she twisted that one around, which was expected. So.
Of course.
You know what? This other one kind of goes back to the relapse one. Are we good on the higher power thing? and the happiness?
As good as I'll ever be.
No, I know. I know we got off on a major tangent there and ended up with truffle butter.
Did.
So
we
started with higher power and then truffle butter. Love it.
Yep. Yeah, maybe that is my higher power.
Here's some truffle butter, bitch. There we go. So back to kind of like a little bit back to the relapse thing, and I wrote this down. So you listened to the episode we did with Eric. Oh yeah, you were listening to Lydia. Yeah. So, and for everyone, if you didn't hear it, it's Eric is a host of the podcast called Unfuck Yourself. Very cool name, by the way. And he had us on back in September. It just aired 2 weeks ago, yesterday, I think.
Yeah, just about. Yep.
Yeah, but there's on our Instagram page in the highlights, I have a highlight button for guest appearance. It doesn't click through to it. I don't believe if I did that, but still, you'll be able to see it and listen to it if you want. It turned out to be a good episode. But the one question he asked towards the end, and I thought I hesitated when he asked, but then when I listened to it, I'm like, God, did it come out that I hesitated? So, and it did. And that's why I wanted to ask your opinion on this whole thing. He asked the question is, should a person ever give up if they keep relapsing? And he asked me first, and I'm like, and I said no. And right. I know why I hesitated, but my fear was that somebody would think that I don't think people should keep trying, which is not the case. So what made me think about it was the definition of insanity, and if somebody keeps relapsing, not that they shouldn't keep trying, but it was kind of like expanding on that answer in my head that made me hesitate. But I know we were towards the end of the episode. But my point with that is and we've talked to people about this in the past, is that like Daryl, our friend Daryl, I think you even said it to him, dude, man, you got to do something different, man.
Right.
So if you keep banging your head against the wall, move over so you're not doing that. Or if you keep walking out in front of traffic, take a fucking look first,
Right.
So that was, and I thought about it afterwards. That was my reason that I hesitated, and I almost felt bad about it that I hesitated, because I did. If people listen to that, I don't want people to think that I'm of the opinion that people shouldn't keep trying. I just think they should keep trying, but do something different. If you're cruising down the road in the center lane and you keep hitting another car, to your point, right, the accident again, move over to the right-hand lane or the left-hand lane so you don't keep hitting that fucking car.
Right. So, yeah. Well, you said you're hitting your head against the wall. Maybe try turning around so you're not facing the fucking wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
you're moving in the wrong direction. You need to move in another direction. Yeah, absolutely.
You said the right answer, though. So you made up for it, because you talked about this and that and hope. But yeah, keep hope alive, or whatever you said. You said, I have a dream, and you said something about hope, and so.
Right. I have a dream.
Right. But no, you did. You pulled it around, and I hopefully covered up for it. But seriously, I don't feel bad about many things that I say, but I felt bad about that because I wasn't sure how. I knew I hesitated, but I wasn't sure if when it was like, God, almost 2 months until the release of that. So I forgot about it until I was listening to it. I'm like, oh, fuck, did I? I'm like, God damn it. You can tell I hesitated.
Yeah. Well, you were giving it some thought. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's one of those slogans is think.
Right. Well, and that's the whole beauty of when you and I are talking like this, and
we don't think.
Well, we don't think, but then we have time to bring that thought around, like whatever it was we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, and I'm like, hang on, I'm not done yet.
Okay,
hold on a minute. But that still cracks me up, because I can hear these things and these tones in your voice, which just really always crack me up. But yeah, so that was that. There's a couple more things on here. I mean, we're about to hit an hour, but I've got a couple of more. Hang on one second here. I know one that I want to talk about.
Shit, don't we have 15 hours now a month?
Yeah, we do. We mean, we could talk for as many hours or days as we want, almost.
Yeah, well, guess what? I don't. So
I know. Well, that's the other thing. I a lot of times I actually do think of you and me, knowing that it takes me a couple hours to get all this shit together once we're done. But and I mean that the best way. So this is where, and I thought about this, and maybe before I even ask this question, I'll back up a minute. So this, I was on Instagram the other day, and there's, again, I look at these. Sometimes you can see it. I showed you that little graph on there, like in our settings, not their settings, but it's like the professional part of our dashboard, where it shows how many interactions. And you saw that graph, and certain days was like 10,000 and 5,000, this and that.
Right.
I keep an eye on that. What that is the reach, how far our posts are going out on a daily basis.
How many people we're touching.
Exactly. Yes.
Yep.
How many literally thousands of people we get to touch. Which to me, honestly, it's kind of fun because this is all we've talked about it. Just the growth we've had has been cool. But I looked in there, and the post we had when we originally, that Monday when we had posted about mom passing away, and that post hit like number one like pretty quickly, and then it was like in the top 5, and there's some other things that have pushed it back, but the first thing that shows up by default when you first pull up those stats is the last 30 days. So this was I think it might have been on Wednesday, and I pulled it up and I looked, and I'm like, what the fuck? Because I don't see that post anymore. And I'm like, did it just get literally pushed off the page, which would have been like 25 things down or something?
Right.
And then I thought about, I'm like, oh, fuck, it's been more than 30 days.
Right.
So it was the 30th. And then by calendar days, as of the, Wednesday, I think it was just past that 30 days. So that just kind of blew my mind. And I was just kind of thinking back, and, there's been kind of these, again, I haven't been like depressed. I haven't been whatever, but certain times I'm just almost feel like, blah type of things,
Yeah.
So it made me think about this. And a couple of mornings I woke up, and, again, part of it's work and part of it's whatever, maybe I'm tired, whatever the case is. But so I thought this is where that question came from. So when you wake up in a pissy mood, and I know it happens, even though we do all the things we do, a pissy mood, and you don't know why. What do you do, and how do you handle it?
I do what I do every day. I stop and I do my readings and find something to be grateful for, and move along. Because again, things don't last. My bad moods, my good moods, any of my moods, none of them last. That's why I don't allow them to rule my life anymore. Yes, I wake up and the hell, I think I did earlier this week. I woke up and did not want to get out of bed, did not want to go to work, did not. And you know what? I got up out of bed. I went to work. I'm sitting here now doing this podcast, and those feelings and that mood that I was in doesn't fucking matter, just like it didn't matter at the time. Yeah.
Right.
Just move along.
Yeah, and I do the same thing, but it was just kind of and I think some of these things I write down because I think about how you and I might respond, but then I also think about again how people that are listening might be thinking about this, and granted, like the whole thing with when mom died, and the routine, and the fact that you and I and I think probably we're more on like an autopilot for like that first, at least that first week, because
sure,
especially that day, just you get up, you do like you said, thankfully you were still at work, you already did your readings, and I think you said after you and I talked that thankfully you had to get back to work,
Yeah.
And it's a distraction sometimes doing the things that we want to do and have to do, really, they're wonderful distractions, but a hugely positive distraction, whether we know it or not at the time,
Right. So, distract us from ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And that's the only way to put it, right? Because
right. Oh yeah. Depression, right? I don't get depressed anymore. God knows I did plenty of times, in my past. And I look at depression now, and depression was me paying way too much attention to myself. Bottom line, I would sit there and just dwell on myself and how shitty things were, and or even not. It's just it was an unhealthy obsession with myself, and it made me depressed. I need to look outwards. And when I do that, again, I get that byproduct of happiness. Yeah, so move on, do what you got to do. And don't sit there and dwell on yourself. Don't sit there and dwell on that alcoholic thought. Dwelling is not a good thing, no matter how you do it. Obsession is not a good thing.
Right.
Obsessing on something, especially myself, makes my life shitty.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good point, because I thought about that, even because I was thinking about it when you were talking about the 5 stages of grief, and what did you say? You're going back and forth between anger and depression, which is no different than any other day,
right?
Which I thought was funny, but and I again, I listen to all these podcasts, and you hear all these people talking about it, and people who are anyone who deals with or is going through, clinical depression where they have to actually take medicine to even out. I mean, I feel for those people, because I'm just so happy that I don't, have to deal with that. But I have these ups and downs. There'll be,
sure,
it could be a morning when I wake up and I'm like, fuck this and fuck everyone, fuck this life, fuck this world, fuck this job I got to do. Because I wake up, my whole work stuff is set up in the room. So I wake up, first fucking thing I'm looking at is work. God damn, fuck you. Well,
yeah. I spent several years in a truck, man. Right. I woke up in my work. It was the same thing. Right.
Yes. See, again, I'm talking to the person who, you literally lived in it, but
I understand completely.
but then there's other days that I wake up and it was months and months ago, when I'd say that I'm in a great, on here I talk about, like, I'm in a great fucking mood and I have no idea why. And I'd sit there and then I'm trying to figure it out. Why are you in a good mood? Why do you feel good? Why do you feel good, man? Right. But I don't think I'm not going to say there's never been a time, but I'm usually very enthusiastic and happy about sitting down and doing my readings, because I know that something good is going to come of it. Even if I'm just I'm like, I got to go read through all this shit. Rarely has that ever happened, I can't even think of a time, because that's kind of like, I realize that, hey, this is my start for the day. This is my time for me. I get to do this. I'm allowed to do this. The pleasure of doing it, and sometimes I get done and, walk downstairs or whatever, and I'm still in a weird fucking mood, but at least I got a layer in there of happiness.
Right. Yeah. A sense of accomplishment.
Right.
Yeah. Even if it's really small. Yeah.
Right.
I did this thing that I need to do, and I got through it even when I didn't want to.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too, that with, once again, just being grateful that I don't have to deal with depression again. These funky type of moods like this, and the reason I put a note on there is if you don't know why, because that's the thing that, and I don't try to beat myself up over it, but I do try to figure out what the problem is, because if it's something that's underlying, like we were just reading in a 24-hour book, I'm not afraid of, but I'm cognizant of the fact that these thoughts can burrow their way in. And if I can slightly at least figure it out, or at least make sure that I'm picking myself out of that thought, because whatever's down there is trying to get me more than likely.
Right.
And I don't want to get got by any of these fucked up thoughts. So like you said, you do your shit and you get on with your day, you just get yourself out of it.
Yeah. Don't dwell on it. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Dwelling is bad.
This would be a no.
Write that one down.
Dwelling is bad. That sounds like that might even be an episode title. Why don't you write that down?
All right.
Okay. So one last thing, and I when we were talking about Pulp Fiction, so and this is and I've said this before, that and we were talking about with the 24-hour book. I don't know where some of these good sobriety thoughts come from, and then I read them in the book, and and I know I've talked about this before, that I'll be watching an old TV show or a movie and some line pops up. I'm like, oh fuck, that's where I got that from. It'll be something I've said for years. So Uma Thurman, they're in the restaurant, the 50s restaurant, where they have dinner in the car, and she goes to literally powder her nose.
Right.
But that's what she says. She's going to powder her nose. Right. And all the ladies sitting there fixing her hair, and then she comes up. She's like, God or she's like, I said, God damn. And I'm like, fuck, that's where that's from. I say that I don't know if I had to have said it around you. I say it all the time.
Right.
It's usually like if I see something that's, I mean, really cool, a car, maybe a hot chick, who knows?
Right.
But whatever it is, I'm like, God damn, that sort of thing. And I do it all the time. I haven't seen that movie in, I don't even know how, not 10 years, but it's been a while. And I just started laughing. I'm like, oh, I wrote that down right away. Well, in my phone, because I already had the Pulp Fiction thing, because that was earlier in the movie. I'm like, man, I gotta bring that up because it does it. It just it blows my mind, the little things that, and that's just a stupid thing. But I mean, seriously, thank goodness that some of these good thoughts, like in the 24-hour book, stick in my head or our heads, because I know what happens to you too. Right. So, but yeah, so that was my last one. God damn, I said, God damn. And that was just it was just a funny one that kind of blew my mind. So, but I
comes up to there's no bad examples. There's no bad quotes. It's what we do with them.
Right. And I say it in a nice sense. If I see an attractive female, not after I just, snorted a monstrous line of Coke, for instance.
Right.
All right. Well, I think we could probably wrap up at monstrous line of Coke. I think that's probably a pretty good line to wrap up on. So, and yeah, we're at an hour, almost an hour 12. We're pushing that a little bit. Oh, we still, we might as well just talk about it now. At some point, what we should do is, because everyone, well, not everyone knows, but I posted it. We now have the ability to do live stream. Because we want to test that out at some point. I figured out how to do it. I've got the YouTube page set up because we needed a couple of codes from YouTube to put in here. So that part's set up. I can't say I know how to do it. I know where the codes come from. All
right.
So we could try the live stream sometime. But I'd also, I'm just curious. What between you and I sometime, I want to just maybe a 5-minute or 10-minute thing for us to do audio and video. Just you and I, because I want to see, I think, kind of like Eric did. So Eric repurposes those clips. He puts them just audio for his podcast, but then he repurposes the audio clips. So we can, I think what we can do is the way that Riverside works, it's going to record our audio and video all in separate tracks. And then if we choose audio, video together, it'll download that. Or I can just extract the audio and use it for our normal podcast stuff. But I just want to test it out because I just think it'd be, now that we've got the time, test out the capabilities a little bit. So,
all right.
So well, hopefully that doesn't mess it up now. Yeah, Mike just turned his camera on for a minute. So if we happen to go dead there for about three or 4 seconds, that's why.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. But that'll be interesting to see it. Once we're done, I'll let you know if it captured like that 4 seconds of video. Oh no, it won't. It won't because we can have our cameras on, but when we're setting up right now, we do audio only. So yeah, it's not going to record those. But I would like to try that because I think it'd be fun. We got all these other areas we can explore with.
Well, I'll tell you what, at some point, not next weekend, but the weekend after, I'll be laying on the beach looking at the Caribbean. Right. And
ooh, can you like take video of hot chicks as they're walking by?
Well, I could. I'll have a hot chick laying next to me at the time, but
I understand that. But see, she'll understand that you're doing it for me, not for you.
Exactly.
Because I think if I asked Chris nicely, she'd scope out a hot chick for me. So I mean, she wouldn't take offense to it. I don't think so.
No, I will say that there's not a whole lot of that at the resort we go to. It's families and older couples and like us.
Right. Yeah, I don't need to look at anyone like you, so okay.
No, you don't. but there's there's a few. There's some younger ones there too.
Awesome. Cool.
Yep. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, so 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to be doing our Mexico episode. So we
will.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So
episode international.
Mexican episode. All right. Well, we can ramble on about your Mexico trip next week too. So
we can.
I think that'll be fun. So cool. Well, as always, Mr. Mike, anything else on your mind?
Well, to quote Cosmo Kramer, I point at my head and say, up here, I'm already gone.
It's a new one. I kind of like that one.
You like that? Yeah.
I do.
Well, it's true.
It's nice. Well, good.
Trust me, I'm already laying on that beach up in my head right now.
Oh, I know. Well, when it's 30 some degrees and a wind chill and blah blah blah, all that stuff. Yeah, it's be a nice place to be. So, all right, brother, time for you to close us out.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, be kind, be good to each other, do something nice for somebody else this week. Don't dwell. Don't dwell. There's nothing good there. Movement is what we need. We do not need to sit in the same spot. And I'm trying to pull this up on my phone. There it is. All right. And as always, please, 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 fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying, you can't fuck off past here. Climb over that gate. Live the impossible dream. And keep fucking off forever.
Well, you got the kudos for going into a really cool now word from our sponsor, and then you're like, now I'm trying to pull this up with my phone. I was trying not to laugh. I was trying not to laugh on the dwell part. I was giving you again a nice, as you said, a nice clean read. No, that was fun. I like it when you fuck up better than when it's nice and clean. It makes me laugh more.
Me too.
So. All right, brother. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
I love you too.
All right, bud. Bye.
Bye.
As always, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. To access all of our content and interact with us, please visit our website, SoberNotMature.com. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.